Welcome back to Primetime News. Special welcome to the folks watching on onespotmedia.com. Up first this evening, the government's spending plan for the fiscal year, which begins on April 1. The Finance Minister, Dr. Nigel Clark, tabled those estimates in Parliament late this afternoon. Our reporter, Dashan Hendricks, has been going through the books and joins us live to tell us what he's seeing so far. Dashan?
Well, Archie, it's a budget time, and what a lot of people look out for is the big figures in terms of what the government says it will be spending over the next 12 months starting April 1. Now, what's that big figure? If we could now get it in the video wall, and right now, there it is now, Archie, $803 billion. That's what the government says it will be spending. Now, compare that to the last revision of the budget we had in this current fiscal year, and it's just about $1 billion more than what was spent last year. Now, you'll be tempted to say there is no big difference, just $1 billion. But what you should know is that $21 billion of the expenditure last year in the budget, that money was spent on roads. This was just a one-off spending, paying for roads. Money is owed to small businesses, and money is owed to the Jamaica Public Service Company for street lighting. Now, that $21 billion will be still in this budget, but it will be spent in other areas. But what exactly will the government be spending on? Before we go to that, just to remind you, the government spends on just about 4 main areas each year, regardless of which ministry, department, or agency the spending is on. Those are on programs, wages and salaries, debt repayment, and capital expenditure. And the government is projecting to undertake its biggest spending this year. The government is saying that it will be spending on programs some $211 billion. Apart from regular spending, just about $5.5 billion of that will be going for outstanding amounts owing to JPS for street lighting. Another $38 billion will be spent for public sector pensions, and the Student Loan Bureau will be getting $3 billion. The JUTC will be getting $5 billion. Now, the next area, wages and salaries, this year the government will be spending $194 billion. Now, not much to say about here, except that it's about 6% more than was spent in the current fiscal year for wages and salaries. And it is also just about 9% of the GDP, the level the government wants it to go under the IMF deal. Now, debt repayment this year, $274 billion. It's about 34 cents out of every dollar. And Archie, you'll know that some years we had a debt repayment going up to over 70% of the entire money the government spent in each year. We're ended in the right direction. And crucially, this year, the end of this fiscal year, about 96%, the debt to GDP ratio will be 96%. Next year, it will be about 91%. The next spending area is on capital expenditure programs, $72 billion this year, just over 3% of the total expenditure. The Ministry of National Security will get the biggest slice, $20 billion. And that money will be spent on things like making the police and the JDF more mobile this year, and on bringing more people in the police force and the JDF, and bringing more technology in the security forces to fight crime. The other spending areas we'll be looking at, the South Coast Highway Improvement Project, that's the road from St. Thomas heading into Portland, $8.4 billion allocated to spend on that this year. The roadworks project, $4.8 billion. And CRH, that's Cornwall Regional Hospital, we know that hospital is having its challenges. $1 billion allocated this year to spend on Cornwall Regional Hospital. But Archie, this year the government is also saying that it will be trying to get about $575 billion in taxes to spend on the budget. Other sums will add up to the $803 billion, but that's the tax projections for now. We don't know if it will change between now and the next 2 weeks when the finance minister presents the budget. Remember, the budget has to lay on the table for 2 weeks before the finance minister starts and get into telling the country how we'll finance it. But that's the big figure of $575 billion in taxes this year.
Dashan, if I may, have you been able to project whether this means a new tax package?
Right now, as it looks, not really, but I don't want to preempt or try to presume or assume. The original projections, I must tell you, in the right now, each year the government projects about 4 years worth of budget. So we have budgets now up to 2023. And the original projection was for $570 billion. So we are now seeing, they're saying they're expecting to get $5 billion more in the next fiscal year because the economy is picking up so well and the taxes are coming in stronger than they had expected. So we may or may not see, I can't project now, but the Finance Minister, Dr. Nigel Clark, will outline that when he speaks in the next couple of weeks.
All right, thank you very much, Dashan.